The massive ship appeared in Earth's sky on a Tuesday morning. It was bigger than any mountain, shaped like a crystal that caught sunlight and threw it back in rainbow colors. People around the world stopped what they were doing and stared up. At the impossible sight, Commander Veltar stood on the bridge of the ship, called Harmony's Edge. His green scales caught the light from the control panels as he watched the small blue planet below. He had been studying this world for many years through their radio signals and television broadcasts. Creatures down there called themselves humans. Such a primitive species, Veltar said to his crew. His voice was deep and rough like grinding. Stones, they still fight wars over resources. They damage their own planet. They let emotions control their decisions. Dr. Klaxa, I clicked her mandibles in agreement. She was from the Chitani race, looking like a giant praying mantis with 4 arms and compound eyes that saw in many different colors. My research shows they form strong pair bonds and invest much energy in their offspring. Very inefficient behavior. The third member of the command team was Fasara, a being made of pure energy that glowed like a small star. Her light pulsed. As she spoke, the Galactic Federation has seen this pattern before. Emotional species always struggle to advance beyond their basic nature, but they can be useful workers if properly guided. Veltar nodded his large reptilian head. We will offer them the standard Class C integration. Basic technology, simple jobs, protection from other hostile species. They should be grateful. Down. On Earth, alarms were ringing in every major city. Military jets flew toward the alien ship but stopped when their instruments went dead. The ship was clearly far beyond human technology, but it made no aggressive moves. Instead, it sent a simple message in perfect Korean, English, Chinese, and dozens of other languages. We come in peace. We wish to meet with your leaders. Send representatives to the Seoul Spaceport in South Korea. We will land there in 6 hours. Dr. Kim Woo was eating breakfast with his family when the phone call came. As South Korea's leading physicist and space researcher, he was chosen to lead the human delegation. He kissed his wife goodbye and promised his 2 young daughters he would be careful. Why Seoul? Asked his wife as she helped him pack his emergency bag. Maybe they studied our broadcasts and think Korea is important, Woo replied. Or maybe they just liked our music. Right. It was meant to be a joke, but neither of them laughed. The world was about to change forever. At Seoul Spaceport, thousands of people gathered behind military barriers. News crews from every country pointed their cameras. At the empty runway, Dr. Park Sora arrived in a government car, checking her translation equipment one more time. She was the best linguist in the country, fluent in 12 languages, an expert in first contact protocols that until today had been purely theoretical. Colonel Lee Jae commanded the military security. He was a calm man who had served in peacekeeping. Missions around the world, but nothing had prepared him for this. His soldiers were nervous, their weapons seeming like toys compared to the technology hovering above them. Remember, Wu told his team as they waited, we represent all of humanity today. Stay calm, be respectful, but don't agree to anything without careful consideration. Sora nodded, thinking of her 8-year-old son Hayan waiting at home with his grandmother. She had promised to bring him back a story about the aliens. She hoped it would be a good story. At exactly the promised time, a smaller ship separated from the mother vessel. It was smooth and silent, landing without any visible engines or thrust. The metal was unlike anything on Earth, seeming to shift color as it moved. A door opened in the side of the craft. The 3 aliens emerged. Commander Veltar was the first to step onto Earth soil. He was nearly 3 meters tall, with dark green scales and yellow eyes that missed nothing. His uniform was made of material that seemed to absorb light, giving him an imposing presence. Dr. Klaxa, I followed, her 4 arms moving independently. As she scanned the environment with various devices, her compound eyes reflected the faces of the human delegation like broken mirrors. Fasara flowed out last, her energy form taking a roughly humanoid shape, but constantly shifting and glowing. When she spoke, her voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. Greetings, humans of Earth, Veltar said in perfect Korean. I am Commander Veltar of the Galactic Federation. We have come to welcome you into galactic society. Dr. Wu stepped forward and bowed politely. Welcome to Earth, Commander. I am Dr. Kim Wu, representing the people of our world. We are honored by your visit. Veltar's expression didn't change. Honor is not necessary. This is simply procedure. The Federation has been observing your species for some time. You have reached the minimum technological threshold for contact. What does that mean exactly? Asked Colonel Lee, his military training making him direct. It means, said Dr. Claxeye, her voice like rustling leaves, that you are advanced enough to be useful, but not advanced enough to be dangerous. The perfect combination for integration. Sora felt something cold in her stomach at those words, but she kept her expression neutral. Integration into what? Vasara's light brightened. The Galactic Federation consists of over 3,000 species across this section of the galaxy. Each has found their place according to their natural abilities and limitations. And what place do you see for humanity? Wu asked carefully. Class C civilization status, Veltar replied as if reading from a manual. You will receive basic medical technology to extend your lifespans and improve your health. Simple manufacturing processes to reduce resource scarcity. Defensive systems to protect against hostile species. That sounds generous, Sora said. What would be expected in return? Labor, primarily. Claxa, I answered, checking one of her scanning devices. Humans show excellent manual dexterity and can work in environments difficult for other species. Your emotional nature, while inefficient, makes you suitable for service positions. Colonel Lee's jaw tightened. Service positions. Maintenance. Construction, hospitality for visiting Federation members, Vasara explained. Many species find emotional beings entertaining. Your art and music, while primitive, have novelty value. The three aliens exchanged glances, clearly thinking this was going well. They had made similar offers to hundreds of species. Most were grateful for the technology and protection, but they had misread the human delegation's silence. Dr. Wu looked at his colleagues, seeing the same thoughts in their eyes. This is a very generous offer, Commander. But we would need time to discuss it with our world leaders. Surely you understand that such an important decision cannot be made quickly. Veltar's yellow eyes narrowed slightly. Of course, you have 72 hours to reach consensus. After that, integration will proceed according to standard protocol. And if we refuse, Colonel Lee asked quietly. Refusal is not advisable, Vasara said, her light dimming. Species that reject Federation membership often face difficulties from less civilized neighbors. Pirates, raiders, resource thieves. The galaxy can be very dangerous for unprotected worlds. The message was clear. Join willingly or face the consequences. As the meeting continued with technical discussions and formal protocols, Sora found herself thinking about her son Heian. What kind of world would he grow up in under alien rule? Would he be free to choose his own path? Or would he be assigned a role based on what these beings thought humans were good for? She looked at the three aliens and realized something that chilled her. They didn't see humans as people at all. They saw them as a resource to be managed, like cattle or machines. The first contact was not going to be the beginning of a partnership between equals. It was going to be the end of human freedom, and none of the aliens seemed to understand that this might be a problem. 3 months had passed since the aliens arrived on Earth. The giant ships now hung over major cities like metal clouds that never moved. Smaller craft flew between them and the ground, carrying supplies and alien workers who were setting up what they called integration centers. Dr. Park Sora walked through the streets of Seoul on her way to work. The city looked different now. Alien technology was everywhere. Streetlights that never needed power. Food machines that could make any meal from basic materials. Medical scanners on every corner that could detect illness before people even felt sick. Many humans were happy with these changes. No one was hungry anymore. Most diseases were gone. The aliens had kept their promises about technology and health improvements, but Sora felt uneasy as she passed. Groups of humans learning to operate alien machinery. They looked grateful, even eager to please their new teachers. The aliens called it integration, but it felt more like training animals to do tricks. The Seoul Integration Center was a massive building that had been constructed in just 2 weeks using alien methods. Sora worked there as a translator, helping humans understand alien instructions and helping aliens understand human responses. She was good at her job. The humans in Sector 7 need more instruction on proper deference protocols, said Supervisor Clixon, a Chitani. Like Dr. Klaxa, his forearms moved constantly as he checked reports on a floating screen. They keep making direct eye contact during conversations. I will explain to them that this makes you uncomfortable, Sora replied in the clicking Chitani language she had learned. It's not uncomfortable. Inappropriate, Clixon corrected.
Aye, Lord.
Species must show proper respect to their betters. This is basic galactic etiquette. Sora nodded and made notes on her tablet. Every day brought new rules about how humans should behave around their alien supervisors. Stand when they enter a room. Wait to be spoken to before speaking. Keep eyes lowered during conversation. The children adapted fastest to the new rules. That afternoon, Sora picked up her son Heian from the Educational Compliance Program. All human children between ages 5 and 15 were required to attend these sessions after regular school. They learned alien languages, alien customs, and what? The aliens called proper social positioning. How was class today? Sora asked as they walked home together. We learned about the Federation hierarchy, Heian replied. He was 8 years old, but spoke with the careful precision that all the children had developed. Humans are level 3. Sentience. We serve level 2 and level 1 species. Sora's heart ached, hearing her bright, curious son repeat these lessons. Before the aliens came, Heian had wanted to be an astronaut. Now he was learning that humans were not allowed to pilot spacecraft. Teacher Velleman says I am very good at following instructions, Heian continued. He says humans who follow instructions well get better job assignments. That is good, Sora said. Though the words felt like poison in her mouth, they passed a construction site, where human workers were building an expansion to the integration center. The workers moved in perfect coordination, following instructions given by a single Sorek supervisor. He looked content, even happy. Why do some humans look sad when they see the workers? Heian asked. Sora looked at her son's innocent face. Some people need time to adjust to changes. But the changes are good, right? Hune pressed. We have better medicine now. No one goes hungry. The aliens protect us from bad aliens. Yes, Sora said quietly. The changes are good. She could not tell her 8-year-old son that she missed the time when humans made their own choices, even bad ones, the next morning. Sora arrived at work to find unusual activity in the medical wing. Dr. Klaxa, I had arrived from the main Federation ship with a team of specialists. They were setting up equipment that Sora had never seen before. What is happening in the medical section? She asked Supervisor Clixon. Dr. Klaxa is conducting advanced neurological studies, he replied without looking up from his work. She has identified several human children with interesting brain patterns. Something cold formed in Sora's stomach. What kind of studies? Nothing you need to concern yourself with? Translator Park? Continue with your assigned duties? Sora could not concentrate on her work. She found excuses to walk past the medical wing throughout the day. Through the transparent walls, she could see alien doctors examining brain scans and neural maps. They seemed very excited about something. That evening, she was preparing dinner when her door chimed. 2 aliens stood outside. Dr. Klaxa and a Luminor official she did not recognize. Translator Park. Dr. Klaxa, I said in her rustling voice, we need to speak with you about your offspring. Sora's hands went cold. About Heian, may we enter? The Luminar asked. Its energy form pulsed with colors that Sora had learned meant impatience. She let them in. Though every instinct told her to slam the door and run, Heian came out of his room where he had been doing homework. He bowed politely to the aliens as he had been taught. This is the one, Dr. Klaxa, I said, her compound eyes studying Hin like he was a specimen in a lab. Child, come here. Hin walked over without hesitation. The aliens had taught all children to obey immediately when given orders. Dr. Klaxa, I pulled out a small device and held it near Han's head. It made soft beeping sounds and displayed patterns of light that shifted and changed. "Remarkable," she whispered. "Even better readings than yesterday?" "Yesterday." Sora stepped forward. "You scanned my son yesterday?" "During his routine medical examination," the Luminor explained. "All children receive regular health monitoring. It's for their benefit." "What did you find?" Sora asked, though part of her did not want to know. Dr. Clax's eyes mandibles clicked excitedly. "Your offspring possesses extraordinary neurological development. His pattern recognition abilities are beyond what our models predicted for human children. His emotional processing centers show remarkable integration with logical thinking areas." "What does that mean?" "It means," the Luminar said, "that this child represents valuable research material. Dr. Claxa, I wishes to conduct detailed studies of his brain structure and function." Sora felt the world spinning around her. "Studies. Comprehensive neural mapping, Dr. Claxa," I explained. "We will need to examine how his brain processes information under various conditions. Stress responses, creative problem solving, emotional reactions to different stimuli." "Long would these studies take?" Sora asked carefully. "Several months, possibly longer. The child will be well cared for in our research facility. And after the studies?" Dr. Claxa I and the Luminar exchanged a look that Sora did not like. "The procedures are somewhat invasive," the Luminar admitted. "There may be changes to his cognitive function, but he will still be able to perform useful work." Sora stared at them. They were talking about her son like he was a machine they wanted to take apart to see how it worked. "What if I say no?" she asked quietly. Both aliens seemed genuinely surprised by the question. "Why would you refuse?" "Dr. Claxa," I asked, "this is a great honor. Your offspring will contribute to scientific advancement that will benefit the entire Federation. Individual preferences are not relevant to scientific progress," the Luminar added. "The greater good must take priority over personal attachments." Sora looked at Han, who was listening to the conversation with the calm attention all the children had been taught. He did not understand that these beings wanted to cut open his brain to study it. "When do you want to begin?" she asked. "Tomorrow." "Morning, Dr. Claxa," I replied. "Bring the child to the medical wing at 800 hours. Initial preparation procedures will take several days." After the aliens left, Sora sat on her couch and stared at nothing. Beside her, "Are you sad, Mother?" he asked. Sora looked at her son. His bright eyes were full of trust and innocence. He believed the aliens were good and wise and only wanted to help. "No," she lied. "I am just tired." That night, after Heen went to bed, Sora stood at her window, looking up at the alien ships. For 3 months, she had told herself that integration was working. Humans were safer and healthier than ever before. But now she understood the price. The aliens did not see Hyun as a child. They did not see any humans as people with rights and feelings and dreams. They saw them as interesting animals that could be studied, trained, and used. Sora had spent her career studying languages and cultures. She understood how different species could have different values and customs, but she had never imagined meeting beings who saw no value in individual life beyond its usefulness to others. She thought about the human workers she saw every day, moving in perfect coordination under alien supervision. They looked content because they had been taught that serving their superiors was the highest purpose of life. Is that what would happen to Heian after the aliens finished studying his brain? Would he become another perfectly obedient worker, his creativity and dreams surgically removed? Sora made a decision that night that would change everything. She was not going to bring her son to the medical wing in the morning. She was not going to let them turn her child into a specimen, even if it meant losing everything she had worked for, even if it meant facing the aliens' anger, even if it meant becoming an enemy of the most powerful force in the galaxy. Some things were worth more than safety. Some things were worth fighting for, no matter the cost. Sora did not sleep that night. She sat at her kitchen table making plans, while Han slept peacefully in his room. Every idea seemed impossible. Aliens had technology that could track any human on Earth. Their ships controlled the skies. Their soldiers were stronger and faster than any human, but she had to try. At 5 in the morning, she woke Hyun gently. "We are going on a trip," she whispered. "Where?" Hyun asked, rubbing his eyes. "To visit your uncle in Busan," Sora lied. She had no plan except to get away from Seoul before 8 o'clock. They left through the back door, carrying only a small bag with clothes and food. Sora had turned off her identification bracelet that all humans were required to wear. She knew the aliens would notice within hours, but she needed time. The streets were empty in the early morning. Most humans were still sleeping, preparing for another day of integration training and assigned work. Security drones flew overhead in regular patterns. But they were not looking for anything unusual yet. Sora and Hyun reached the old subway tunnels that had been abandoned when the aliens installed their new transportation system. She had studied the maps and knew these tunnels connected to maintenance areas throughout the city. "Why are we going underground, Mother?" Hyun asked as they climbed down a maintenance ladder, using a small flashlight. The air was stale and dusty, but it felt better than the controlled atmosphere of the integration center. Down here, she could think without alien scanners monitoring her emotions. They had been walking for an hour when Sora heard footsteps behind them. She turned her flashlight toward the sound and saw a figure approaching. "Dr. Park," a voice called. So Dash Ra recognized Colonel Lee Jae from the first contact meeting. He was not wearing his military uniform, just plain civilian clothes. "Colonel," Lee, Sora said carefully, "what are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same thing," Lee replied. He looked at Hyun, then back at Sora. "You did not report to the medical wing this morning. The aliens are looking for you." Sora's heart pounded. "Are you here to take us back?" Lee was quiet for a long moment. Then he shook his head. "No. I am here to help." Help, my daughter was selected for their educational program last week, Lee said quietly. Advanced psychological conditioning, they called it. She comes home different every day. Yesterday, she asked me why humans are allowed to have personal possessions when it would be more efficient to share everything. Sora understood. The aliens were not just training the children to obey. They were changing how the children thought about being human. "What can we do?" Sora asked. "They have all the power," maybe Lee said. "But I have been watching them for 3 months. They have weaknesses." Lee led them deeper into the tunnel system to a hidden room that had once been used for emergency supplies. Inside, Sora was surprised to find other people waiting. There was Choi Dae-ho, a mechanic who had worked on the alien machinery. His 10-year-old daughter Min-young sat beside him, looking confused and frightened. Kim Minna was there too, a teacher from one of the integration schools. Her twin sons, both 12 years old, stayed close to her side. They took Min-young for medical testing yesterday, Dae-ho explained. Said they wanted to study human motor coordination. I asked what that meant. They told me it was not my concern. "My boys were selected for something called cognitive restructuring," Minna added. "They want to remove what they call excessive emotional responses." Sora felt sick. The aliens were not just studying human children. They were experimenting on them, trying to change them into something else. "How many others know about this?" she asked. "More than you might think," Lee said. "The aliens believe humans will always choose safety over freedom. They do not understand that some things matter more than survival." Over the next few hours, other parents arrived at the hidden room. Each had a similar story. Their children had been selected for various alien programs: medical testing, psychological conditioning, educational restructuring, behavioral modification. The aliens had a plan, Sora realized. They were not just integrating humanity into their federation. They were rebuilding humanity from the ground up, starting with the children. They wanted to create a generation of humans who would never question alien authority, never resist alien control, never even think of themselves as truly human. "We have to get our children away from them," Sora said. "Where can we go?" asked Dae-ho. "They control everything." "The government surrendered all authority to them." "The deep tunnels," Lee suggested. "The old subway system connects to storm drains and maintenance areas throughout the city. We could hide down here while we figure out what to do next." 4. "How long?" Minna asked. They will find us eventually. Maybe, Sora said. But at least our children will be safe while we think of something better. It was not much of a plan, but it was all they had. That night, the group split up to gather supplies and rescue more children. Sora used her knowledge of the integration center to map out security patterns. Lee used his military contacts to identify weak points in the alien surveillance network. Deho used his technical skills to modify human equipment so it could work without alien monitoring. The rescue operation began at midnight. Sora and Sua and Lee entered the integration center through a maintenance entrance that Deho had left unlocked. The building was quiet, with only a few alien guards on duty. Most of the staff assumed that humans were too obedient and fearful to cause any real trouble. They moved through the dark hallways toward the medical wing, where several human children were being held for overnight observation. Sora's heart pounded as they passed alien technology that could detect them at any moment. The children's room was protected by a simple electronic lock that Lee was able to bypass using techniques he had learned in the military. Found 6 children between the ages of 7 and 14. All were connected to monitoring devices that tracked their brain activity while they slept. "Wake up quietly," Sora whispered to the children. "We are taking you home." The children were confused but obedient. They had been trained to follow adult instructions without question. Thra felt guilty using their conditioning against the aliens, but there was no time for explanations. Meanwhile, Deho and Minna were rescuing children from the educational facility across the city. They had discovered that the aliens kept detailed records of which children showed the most independence and creativity. These were the children selected for the most intensive programs. The aliens wanted to eliminate the very qualities that made humans most human by dawn. The group had rescued 23 children and moved them to a large chamber deep in the abandoned subway system. It was not comfortable, but it was hidden from alien scanners. Dr. Klaxa, I discovered the missing children when she arrived at the medical wing that morning. Her angry clicking could be heard throughout the integration center as she realized that humans had successfully interfered with Federation research. Commander Veltar was furious when he received the report. In his experience, newly integrated species sometimes had small rebellions, but they always ended quickly when the rebels realized how hopeless their situation was. Increase security around all facilities, he ordered. Begin systematic searches of the city. These humans will surrender when they understand the consequences of defying Federation authority. But down in the tunnels, Sora was discovering something the aliens had not expected. The human parents were not planning to surrender. They think, "We will give up when things get difficult," she told the group. They do not understand that we would rather die than let them destroy our children's minds. "What can we do against their technology?" asked one of the fathers. "We learn," Sora replied. "Deho has been studying their equipment for months. He knows how their systems work. Lee understands their security protocols. I know their language and customs. And I know how they think," added Minna. "I have been watching them train our children. They believe that all intelligent behavior can be programmed. They do not understand creativity or intuition or the kind of thinking that does not follow rules." Sora looked around at the group of parents and children hiding in the darkness beneath Seoul. They had no weapons, no advanced technology, no support from their own government. The most powerful civilization in the galaxy wanted to capture them and force them back into compliance, but they had something the aliens did not.
Understand.
They had love for their children that was stronger than fear of consequences.
They had.
The willingness to sacrifice everything to protect what mattered most. They had human creativity that could find solutions the aliens would never expect. Most importantly, they had each other. They made one mistake, Sora said. They assumed that humans are just like every other species they have conquered. But we are not. What makes us different? Heian asked. He had been listening quietly to the adult conversation. Sora looked at her son and smiled for the first time in days. "We do not know when to give up," she said. For 3 days, the resistance group lived in the underground tunnels while alien search teams scoured Seoul above them. The The children adapted quickly to their new environment, turning the dark spaces into a makeshift home with blankets and salvaged furniture, but Sora knew they could not hide forever. On the fourth morning, Deho returned from a scouting mission with grim news. "They found our entrance in the eastern tunnels," he reported. "Alien soldiers sealed it with some kind of metal foam. They are closing off escape routes one by one." Colonel Lee studied the map they had drawn of the tunnel system. "They are herding us toward the central station. It is the only place left with multiple exits. Or they want us trapped there," Minna said quietly. Sora looked at the 23 children gathered around them. They ranged in age from 6 to 15. Some understood what was happening. Others just knew their parents were scared. All of them trusted the adults to keep them safe. "How much time do we have?" Sora asked. "Maybe 6 hours before they reach this section," Lee replied. "Their soldiers are moving slowly because they do not know the tunnels like we do." The alien soldiers were not human. Commander Veltar had called in Kronok warriors from the Federation military. Kronok were 2.5 meters tall with armor-like skin and forearms ending in claws. They were bred for fighting and had never lost a battle against any species. Leading them was War Commander the Smell. A veteran of 50 campaigns across the galaxy, he had put down rebellions on dozens of worlds. Human resistance would be no different from any other. "These creatures are behaving irrationally," the Smell reported to Commander Veltar. "They choose to hide in dangerous tunnels rather than accept medical care for their offspring. It makes no sense. Humans are driven by primitive instincts. They will surrender when they realize they cannot win. Use minimal force. We still need them capable of work." But Dr. Klaxai was not so sure. She had been studying the rescued children's brain scans and noticed something unexpected. The stress of the situation was not breaking down their mental patterns. Instead, it was making them stronger. "They are a classy species with primitive technology. Their technology is primitive, yes, but their neural activity under stress shows remarkable adaptation. They are not responding to this crisis the way our models predicted." Veltar dismissed her concerns. "They're cornered animals. Animals always fight when cornered, but they lose when faced with superior force." Down in the tunnels, Sora was making the hardest decision of her life. "Soon they will force us into the central station where we will have nowhere to go. Then what do we do?" asked Day-Ho. Sora looked at each face in the dim light. These were ordinary people: teachers, mechanics, office workers, soldiers. None of them had asked to become rebels. They just wanted to protect their children. "We make our stand," she said. "Right here, right now, we stop running." "Against Kronok warriors?" Lee asked. "Sora, I respect what you are trying to do, but we have no weapons that can hurt them. No armor to protect us.
Oh.
No training for this kind of fight." "I know," Sora replied, "but running is not working. They will catch us eventually. At least this way we choose where and how we face them." Minna spoke up. "What about the children?" "The children are why we are here," Sora said firmly. "They are why we cannot give up. They're why we have to try, even if we cannot win." Young Heian stepped forward. At 8 years old, he was one of the youngest in the group, but he had been listening to everything. "They give us food and medicine. They say they want to help us." This was the conversation she had been dreading, but it was time for truth. "Heian, do you remember what you wanted to be when you grew up? Before the aliens came?" "An astronaut," Heian said immediately. "And do you still want that?" Heian was quiet for a moment. "Teacher Velamon says humans are not allowed to pilot spacecraft. He says we should want to be good workers instead. What do you think about that?" "I think it makes sense," Heian said, but his voice was uncertain. "The aliens are smarter than us. They know what is best." Sora felt her heart break a little. Even in just 3 months, the aliens had begun to change how her son thought about himself and his future. "Heian," she said gently, "what if I told you that you could be an astronaut if you really wanted to? What if I told you that you are just as smart and capable as any alien?" "That is not true," Heian replied. "Humans are level 3 sentience. We learned that in school." "Who told you that humans are level 3 sentience? The aliens? And who decided what the levels mean?" Heian thought about this. "The aliens. So the aliens decided that they are better than humans, and then they taught. You two believe it too?" For the first time, Heian looked confused. But they have better technology. They know more things. They do have better technology, Sora agreed. But does that make them better people? Does that mean they have the right to tell you what you can dream about? Hyun was quiet for a long time. Sora could see him thinking, trying to understand ideas that the alien education had tried to eliminate. I still want to be an astronaut, he whispered finally. Then that is what you should be, Sora said. No matter what anyone else tells you. She stood up and looked at the other children, who had been listening to the conversation. All of you have dreams, she told them. Things you want to do, places you want to go, people you want to become. The aliens want to take those dreams away. They want to make you forget that you ever had them. Why? Asked Minyoung Daeho's daughter. Because dreams make people dangerous, Sora replied. People with dreams ask questions. They want to change. Things they do not always obey. The adults in the group understood what Sora was doing. She was not just explaining why they were hiding. She was teaching the children to think like humans again. So we are not going back, asked one of the older boys. We are not going back, Sora confirmed. That afternoon, they heard the sound of marching feet echoing through the tunnels. The Kronak warriors had found them. War Commander Vexmel's voice boomed through the darkness, speaking in perfect Korean. Humans of Earth, you are surrounded. Surrender immediately, and you will receive fair treatment. Continue to resist and face the consequences. Sora stepped forward to answer, though she knew the alien soldiers could not see her yet. We are not surrendering, she called back. We are not going back. You have no choice in this matter, Vexmel replied. You cannot win against trained Federation warriors. Our children are already in harm, Sora shouted. You want to cut open their brains? You want to steal their dreams. You want to turn them into slaves who smile while you hurt them. There was silence in the tunnels for several seconds. You are being irrational, Dexmal said finally. The Federation offers your species prosperity and protection. Why do you choose conflict? Sora thought about the question. What? She choosing to fight a battle she could not win? Why was she risking her life and her son's life for something as abstract as freedom? The answer came to her clearly. Because some things are worth more than safety, she called back. Because love means standing between danger and those who cannot protect themselves. Because being human means choosing to fight even when you cannot win. Her words echoed through the tunnels, reaching not just the alien soldiers, but also the human parents and children behind her. For the first time since the aliens arrived, Sora felt completely, truly human. You have 1 minute to surrender, Dexmal announced. Then we come for you. Sora turned back to her group. They were afraid, but they were also determined. They had chosen their path. Everyone ready? She asked. They nodded, parents and children. Teachers and workers. People do extraordinary things. The minute was up. The battle began when the Kronak warriors entered the central tunnel station. War Commander Vexmal expected quick victory. His soldiers wore powered armor that could stop any human weapon. They carried energy rifles that could cut through steel. They had fought across 50 worlds and never met a species that could stand against them. But they had never fought parents defending their children. Sora had used her knowledge of the integration center to understand how alien equipment worked. The Kronak armor was strong, but it relied on sensors to target enemies. She had taught the humans to move in ways that confused those sensors. When the first warrior entered their chamber, he could not find clear targets. The humans moved like water, flowing around obstacles, appearing and disappearing in the shadows. His armor's computer could not predict where they would be next. Daeho had spent 3 months working on alien machinery. He knew their technology was advanced, but it was also programmed to work in predictable ways. While the warrior was confused by the human movement, Daeho attacked his armor's power supply with tools salvaged from the tunnels. The warrior fell. His armor was too heavy to move without power. Colonel Lee coordinated the defense using tactics he had learned in human conflicts. The aliens fought in formation, like a machine where each part had a specific function. Calculate. They are not fighting like any species in our databases, Vexmel reported to Commander Veltar. Our predictive algorithms cannot establish firing solutions. How is this possible? Veltar demanded. They have no military training, no advanced weapons. They are fighting with something our systems do not recognize, Dexmal replied. Something that does not appear in any tactical manual. Dr. Klaxa, I watched the battle through surveillance feeds and realized what the war commander meant. Humans were not fighting with strategy or technology. They were fighting with desperation and love and the absolute refusal to give up. Minna used her understanding of psychology to predict how the alien soldiers would react to unexpected situations. She created chaos by doing things that made no tactical sense, but forced the warriors to hesitate and recalculate. The children helped too, not by fighting, but by staying together and staying brave. Every time a parent looked back and saw their child still free, still human, still dreaming of being an astronaut or a teacher or an artist, they found new strength to keep fighting. But there were too many warriors and not enough humans. One by one, the defenders fell. Deho was struck down while protecting a group of younger children. Lee fought 3 warriors at once until his improvised weapons broke and he could fight no more. Sora found herself backed against a wall with Hyun and 6 other children behind her. 2 Chronoc warriors approached with their weapons raised. Surrender. Now one of them demanded, "You have fought bravely, but this ends here." Sora looked at the alien soldiers. Their armor was damaged from the fighting. They moved more carefully now, having learned to respect human unpredictability. But they were still stronger and better armed. "You want the children," Sora said. "You will have to go through me." "You cannot stop us," the warrior replied. "Step aside, and no one else will be hurt." No, such a simple word, 2 letters, 1 syllable. But it contained everything that made humans different from every other species. The Federation had encountered the warrior raised his weapon, but before he could fire, something unexpected happened. Every communication device in the tunnel system activated at once. Sora's voice, recorded during the fighting, began broadcasting across the entire Federation network. "We are not your livestock," her words echoed through space to thousands of worlds. "We are not your specimens. We are human beings, and we will never stop fighting for our children." Deho had rigged the system during the battle using his knowledge of alien technology to turn their own communication network against them. Sora's message reached every Federation ship, every alien colony, every species that had been conquered and integrated over the centuries. For the first time in galactic history, those species heard someone say no to the Federation and mean it. The Chronac warrior hesitated. His training told him to complete the mission, but something in Sora's words made him pause. "Why do you choose death over cooperation?" he asked. So Dashra looked at Hen, who was watching everything with wide, frightened eyes. Her son still believed he could be an astronaut someday, still had dreams that the aliens wanted to take away, because some dreams are worth dying for. As she lay bleeding on the tunnel floor, she reached out and took Han's hand. "Remember what I told you?" she whispered. "You can be anything you want to be. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise." Hugh knelt beside his mother, tears streaming down his face. But he was not just crying from sadness. He was crying from anger and determination, and the sudden understanding of what his mother had been trying to teach him. "I will remember," he promised. Sora smiled and closed her eyes. Around the galaxy, her message continued to broadcast. Species that had accepted Federation rule for centuries began to ask questions they had not asked in generations. If humans could say no to the most powerful force in the galaxy, maybe they could too, on the Luminar homeworld. Energy beings who had given up individual identity to serve the collective began to remember what it felt like to be themselves on Chitani worlds. Young insects started to question why their lives were planned for them before they were even born. On Sorek colonies, reptilians began to wonder if there might be more to existence than following orders and serving superiors. War Commander Thexmil stood over Sora's body and felt something he had never experienced before. He had won the battle, but he did not feel victorious. He felt as though he had lost something important, though he could not name what it was. Resistance eliminated. Thexmil replied, "Humans captured." But even as he said it, he knew it was not true. Something had not been captured. Something had escaped and was spreading across the galaxy faster than any Federation ship could travel. Dr. Klaxa, I analyzed the biological and psychological data from the battle and made a discovery that shook her understanding of intelligence. Itself, the humans had not fought with superior strategy or technology. They had fought with something the Federation had eliminated from their own species. Long ago, the willingness to sacrifice everything for an idea. Love, hope, the belief that some things matter more than survival. The Federation had spent millennia creating perfect citizens who always chose the logical option, who always put collective good over individual desires, who never questioned authority. But they had also created a civilization that had forgotten why life was worth living. Watching humans choose death over submission reminded them of what they had lost. And now, across the galaxy, other species were starting to remember Sora's sacrifice had done something the Federation thought was impossible. It had given the galaxy hope. 6 months after the battle in the Soul Tunnels, the Galactic Federation faced its greatest crisis in 3,000 years. Rebellions had erupted on 17 worlds. Species that had been obedient for centuries were demanding independence. The perfect order that the Federation had built was cracking. Commander Beltar stood before the High Council on the capital world of Nexus Prime. The chamber was vast, filled with representatives from the most advanced species in the galaxy. They had ruled over lesser civilizations for so long that they had forgotten what resistance looked like. Explain how a handful of primitive humans has destabilized our entire civilization, demanded High Counselor Zafara, an ancient Luminar, whose energy form flickered with anger. The humans possess cognitive abilities we did not predict, Veltar replied. Dr. Klaxa's research shows that their neural patterns include elements we bred out of our own species millennia ago, such as irrational loyalty, emotional decision-making, the capacity to value abstract concepts over survival. The council was silent. These traits sounded like evolutionary mistakes, weaknesses that natural selection should have eliminated. High Counselor Morgan of the Sorek species spoke next. You are saying that humans are successful because they are inferior? I am saying they are successful because they think differently than we do, Veltar answered carefully. Their inferior technology forced them to develop superior adaptability. Klaxa, I entered the chamber carrying data files from her research. Her compound eyes reflected the council's skeptical expressions. Honored counselors, she began, I have spent months studying human neural patterns, particularly those of the child-designated hand park. My findings challenge our fundamental understanding of intelligence. She activated a holographic display, showing brain scans from various species. Federation species show highly efficient neural organization. Thought patterns are logical, predictable, optimized for their assigned functions. But observe the human patterns. The human brain scans appeared chaotic compared to the others. Neural pathways crossed and recrossed in seemingly random ways. Activity levels fluctuated wildly. It looks damaged, observed Counselor Thexrim of the Kronak. That is what I initially thought, Klaxa, I agreed. But then I analyzed their problem-solving capabilities under stress conditions. New displays showed humans responding to various challenges. Where Federation species followed logical decision trees, humans made intuitive leaps that bypassed entire chains of reasoning. They reached correct solutions without following proper analytical procedures. Klaxa, I explained. Their emotional responses actually enhanced their cognitive abilities rather than limiting them. Impossible, Zafara declared. Emotion is the enemy of rational thought. Not for humans, Klaxa, I replied. They've integrated emotional and logical processing in ways we eliminated from our own development. The result is a form of intelligence that can adapt to situations we cannot even imagine. Counselor Morgan leaned forward. Are you suggesting these primitives are more intelligent than we are? I am suggesting they represent an alternative form of intelligence that we abandoned in favor of efficiency. But efficiency is not the same as capability. The council chamber erupted in discussion. The idea that less advanced species might possess superior cognitive abilities was heresy. Against everything the Federation believed, High Counselor Zafira called for order. Even if this is true, it changes nothing. We still control superior technology and military force. The rebellions can be suppressed, can they? Asked a new voice. All eyes turned to see Dr. Kim Woo entering the chamber. The human physicist looked small and frail compared to the alien counselors, but he walked with quiet confidence. Dr. Kim Veltar said with surprise, "You were not summoned to this meeting?" "No," Wu agreed, "but I came anyway." Just like Sora Park chose to resist when resistance seemed impossible, just like my species keeps choosing hope over logic. "You dare interrupt the High Council?" Vextrom growled. "I dare many things," Wu replied calmly. "That is what makes humans dangerous to your system. We dare to dream when dreaming is forbidden. We dare to love when love is inefficient. We dare to fight when fighting is hopeless." Zafara's energy form pulsed with annoyance. "Your species has already been defeated. The rebellions you inspired will be crushed. Order will be restored. Will it?" Wu asked. "How do you defeat an idea? How do you crush hope once it has taken root? How do you make people forget that they once believed they could be free?" He gestured to the holographic displays still showing. Human brain patterns. Dr. Klaxai is correct about our neural development. We never learned to separate thought from feeling, logic from love, efficiency from meaning. You see this as a weakness, but it is actually our greatest strength. "Explain," Morgan demanded. "You created a civilization based on perfect order. Every species has its place. Every individual serves their assigned function. No one questions the system because questioning is inefficient." Wu paused, looking at each counselor in turn. "But you also created a civilization without purpose. Your people follow orders but do not know why. They work efficiently but find no joy in their work. They live long lives but never feel truly alive. Purpose is irrelevant," Zephyra stated. "Order and stability are what matter. To you, perhaps, but not to every species you rule." Sora Park's message was not just heard by humans. It was heard by every conquered world, every integrated species, every individual who had forgotten they once had dreams. "Dr. Klaxa, I studied her data files again. The human is correct. Reports from across the Federation show increased neural activity in emotional processing centers among multiple species. They are remembering feelings they had not experienced in generations, so we eliminate the emotional responses," Dextrum suggested. "More intensive conditioning, deeper psychological restructuring." "That will not work," Wu said, "because you misunderstand what you are fighting. This is not a rebellion against your rule. This is an awakening to what life could be." Young Han Park entered the chamber then, flanked by 2 Chronok guards. He was now 9 years old, but his eyes held the wisdom of someone who had seen both the worst and best of what people could do. Hyunwoo said with gentle surprise, "Why are you here?" "I asked to come," Hyun replied. "I wanted to tell them about my mother." The boy looked up at the towering alien counselors without fear. "My mother taught me that being human means choosing to care about things that cannot be measured. Love, hope, dreams. She died protecting those things." "Your mother was irrational," Veltar said, not unkindly. "She chose death when she could have chosen life. She chose meaning when she could have chosen emptiness," Hyun corrected. "She chose to be human when you wanted her to be a machine." Hyun walked to the center of the chamber, small and vulnerable, but unafraid. "You want to know why humans are different? It's because we know that some things are worth more than survival. Some things are worth fighting for, even when you cannot win. Some things are worth dying for, if it means others can live freely." The council was silent. This child was saying things that challenged the foundation of their entire civilization. "Our powerful hand continued. You have better weapons and faster ships and longer lives. But you have forgotten the most important thing, which is," Zafara asked despite herself, "why any of it matters." High Counselor Zafara dimmed as she considered the boy's words. Around the chamber, other counselors exchanged glances that spoke of doubts they had not allowed themselves to feel in centuries. Dr. Wu stepped forward. The Federation faces a choice. You can continue trying to suppress what makes other species unique and face endless rebellions as more worlds remember what freedom feels like. Or you can acknowledge that there are different ways to be intelligent, different ways to live, different definitions of success. What are you proposing? Morgan asked. True partnership. Not integration where humans serve alien masters, but cooperation between equals. Let each species contribute their unique strengths instead of forcing everyone into the same mold. Impossible, Thexrim declared. Such diversity would create chaos. Would it? Klaxa, I interjected. My research suggests that diverse cognitive approaches lead to superior problem-solving capabilities. Perhaps our pursuit of uniformity has actually weakened us. The debate continued for hours. Some counselors argued for maintaining the current system through force. Others began to see the wisdom in Wu's proposal. The Federation had become stagnant, its member species going through the motions of civilization without passion or purpose. Finally, High Counselor Zephyra spoke. The boy will be returned to Earth unharmed. Humans will be granted class status with full Federation membership. Their cultural autonomy will be respected. It was not everything Wu had hoped for, but it was a beginning. Years later, when Hyon Park became Earth's first human ambassador to the Federation Council, he often thought about his mother's sacrifice. Sora had not lived to see the changes her stand had created, but her courage had planted seeds that grew into something beautiful. The galaxy was no longer a place where order mattered more than meaning. Species were rediscovering the dreams and hopes and loves they had forgotten. The Federation was becoming something it had never been before, a true community of different peoples working together not because they had to, but because they chose to. And in schools across 1,000 worlds, children learned about the woman who had stood in a dark tunnel beneath Sol and said no to the most powerful force in the galaxy. They learned that sometimes the most important victories come not from being strong enough to win, but from being brave enough to try. They learned that being human meant never giving up on the things that matter most, even when the odds are impossible, even when hope seems lost, even when love is all you have left to fight with. Especially then.